The pressure is getting to Augusto de Oliveira. Our campaign is working. Under the heat of our criticism collectively as a community for his abusive methods towards dogs, disguised as dog training, he's now exploiting his followers' trust and lack of behavior expertise by encouraging them to target our sponsors. A pathetic attempt to misdirect the focus away from the real issue of the harmful treatment of animals in his custody. Augusto's methods aren't just under fire for being a little harsh. He has been called out by name by top veterinary behavior organizations worldwide. Let me give you an example. The American College of Veterinary Behaviorists called him out for hanging dogs from slip leads, abusing prong collars, intentionally inciting aggression out of dogs. That is probably the most severe criticism I have of him. This isn't just a mere different approach. It's dangerous to the public and it's unethical. And let me just make this clear. This is not a case of Zach George versus Augusto. It's about modern behavior science fundamentally conflicting with abusive training practices that have persisted long past their expiration date. Worldwide, there are countless modern trainers who successfully tackle complex behavior issues, even aggression, all without resorting to these barbaric methods of intimidation and inflicting pain on dogs. In the modern world, humane training issues actually address the issues that dogs face rather than just trying to mask them and shut a dog down. What many of you who are supporters of Augusto are confusing for results is something that we in the behavior community call learned helplessness. This relies on triggering fight or flight from the dog, causing the dog to shut down, but truly at the end of the day, the dog doesn't understand why they're being yanked and cranked around on a prong collar. Humane training methods actually address the issues that dogs face. Claims that modern trainers just throw treats at so-called aggressive dogs, or that physical punishment like we see Augusto using is necessary for many dogs, are simply not accurate. For some, it is just wishful thinking to think you can just snap a dog around by its neck, scare the crap out of them, and pretend like you have actually addressed deep underlying emotional issues. Augusto de Oliveira is the biggest charlatan in the dog training field, and these approaches simply mask issues and create deeper problems. The truth is that modern evidence-based training approaches are very versatile and very effective for all types of dogs regardless of their breed. That's because they focus on actually addressing and understanding the behavior rather than just suppressing it. For those of you who are skeptical, that's okay. You want to see evidence, and you're entitled to that. You could look on my YouTube channel. I have hundreds of dogs with all kinds of behavioral issues and challenges at all different ages. And if you don't like my approach for whatever reason, there are hundreds of other trainers worldwide who have content available to explain this to you. Now, since this is such a common question, I recently produced a video that gives you a side-by-side approach of how we address dogs who may have behavioral issues in a class setting, so you yourself can compare modern methods to Augusto's outdated approaches. There are literally hundreds of other trainers and behaviorists around the world who specialize in aggressive behavior and successfully address it in humane ways that don't resort to just slapping a prong collar on a dog and depriving them of oxygen while swinging them around. Now, let's talk about this attempted backlash against our sponsors, which is laughable. The sponsors I work with are champions of positive change, and they offer products that genuinely improve dogs' lives. Targeting them is a clear sign of an individual who is stuck in the past, flailing and refusing to accept progress. Look, nobody has a monopoly on dog training methods. We're not trying to say that anyone is better than another person. What we are saying is there is a clear body of evidence that shows us how to address these issues without being violent towards dogs. And in a self-governing profession like dog training, it's up to us, those of us who have influence in the field, to make the public aware of that. Now, let's not sugarcoat this. We know Augusto will exploit animals and be harmful to them, and now he's doing the same with human beings by exploiting his audience. Most of whom, and I don't mean this in an offensive way, are not experts in dog behavior. Most of my audience are not experts in dog behavior either. Both of our audiences trust us. They want to help their dogs. And many people in the general public as well, unfortunately as Augusto de Oliveira, are unaware of the known potential harms that are perpetuated by these outdated methods. When we call for a boycott of dog-related businesses who platform Augusto at their facilities, I agree, it is a serious move. It's about holding those accountable who allow such practices to persist in an unregulated industry. And since we are unregulated, we dog trainers, those of us in the trenches and who work with dogs, have to speak up about this. Furthermore, it has become routine for Augusto, when faced with public pressure, both now and in the past, to play the poor victim, rather than actually addressing the issues brought up with his methods. And of course, as we see so often every day in this industry, to double down on abusive practices and violence towards animals. We're not here to play nice with those who promote dangerous practices towards animals. This campaign is about safeguarding our dogs and protecting the public, and advocating for training that's not only effective, but humane. I think most here will agree that it is time for a seismic shift in dog training. That is, moving away from fear and pain in our field towards respect, empathy, and understanding. We will fight hard for a future where every dog is treated with the care and respect that they deserve. While we continue to spotlight Augusto and the problems with his approaches, we will also continue to hold responsible those who enable these violent practices towards animals. He's not acting alone. He is a symptom of a flawed system that we are exposing. Any dog-related facility that supports and condones and platforms Augusto's methods is absolutely complicit. We will continue undeterred to use our voices and hold enablers of Augusto de Oliveira accountable. It's common for those who have a problem with what we're doing to resort to ad hominem or personal attacks, claiming that positive trainers like myself don't work with real dogs. For argument's sake, let's give you that. Let's say Zach George doesn't work with real dogs, isn't even a good dog trainer. But do you know something? Being a good dog trainer is not a prerequisite for recognizing abusive methods. The fact is, the stance we're promoting is echoing the scientific consensus in our field, which clearly accepts that abusive practices like this never address underlying causes and are more likely to do more harm than good. We're continuing our ongoing efforts to boycott Westbrook Pet Resort in Ringwood, New Jersey. That's where Augusto appeared this past weekend. I will remind you, this is a dog training facility, and when we made sure they were aware of his abusive practices, what did they do? Did they apologize? Did they say this was an oversight? No, they doubled down and they said, hey, Augusto, come back in April. It should be a red flag to everyone that he doesn't announce the location of these events until just hours before they happen. Next up for Augusto is Tampa, Florida, and if anyone has information on the location of this workshop, please make us aware of that. To those who might still be on the fence about this, let me leave you with some questions to ponder. Considering the strong condemnation by reputable animal welfare and behavior organizations globally about Augusto de Oliveira by name, does this, to you, raise concerns about the safety and the ethics of his so-called training approaches? If a training method increases a dog's stress and anxiety, do you think that it actually addresses underlying behavioral issues, or do you think it just suppresses them? How important is it to you for dog training methods to evolve with the latest scientific understanding of animal behavior? Would you trust a trainer who's been repeatedly criticized by leading veterinary behavior organizations around the world, and who continues to use condemned practices in spite of that criticism? I know this can be a hot topic and an emotional issue for many of us, and I just want to say thank you to all of those who relentlessly support what's right in our field.